Joining us now is Mickey Kaus, columnist for the Daily Caller. Hello, Mickey.
Hello.
Good to talk to you again. How are you?
Same here. I'm okay.
Good, good. All right, so, there are these rumors out there, and they've been out there for quite a while. Originally, they cropped up that once the filing deadline has passed for, quote-unquote, these Tea Party challengers to register to challenge incumbent Republicans, once that deadline is done, it's done, and they're different in different states, albeit, then the leadership of the Republican Party and the Republicans would be free to go after immigration reform, pass it against the wishes of the people, and probably Boehner would do it against the wishes of most Republicans with the help of many, many Democrats. Is that what's on the agenda, do you think?
It's still possible. Now they're waiting until the primaries are actually held because a couple of people are really challenged. Eric Cantor has a pretty strong challenger in Dave Bratt, and Cantor isn't actually all that popular in his district, so I think he wants to wait until he to see if he actually wins that. And same with Renee Elmers in Carolina. She's has a opponent in Frank Rush who's stressed amnesty. So I think they want to see if they lose the primaries where they're challenged. They always have some scheme to do it. Boehner has pledged that he won't bring it to the floor in violation of the so-called Hastert rule. In other words, in violation of the wishes of a majority of the Republican caucus.
Right.
So he's looking for the magic formula that will win a majority of the Republican caucus. Mario Diaz-Balart of Florida claims he has the magic formula. He's been claiming that for months and months and months. He hasn't produced it, perhaps because it doesn't, in fact, have a support of the majority of the Republican caucus. But it's clear that the big money and the party strategists who think they have to do this before 2016 are all behind this, and they will keep pushing at whatever opportunity, whatever, grasp at whatever ring they can think of to get this through. And there are a couple of rings that are still out there, so it's still possible.
All right, I want the control room to get cut 38. Let me know, give me a thumbs up when we have 38. I want to know, Mickey, which John Boehner do we believe? We heard last week John Boehner mocking Republicans who didn't want to go along with immigration reform, and he mocked them in a very childish, immature way. And then yesterday he said this.
Found you.
You cheated.
No, I didn't.
It's your turn.
Could we stop that one? It was supposed to be 38. All right. Yesterday Boehner basically said, how can we trust the president to enforce immigration law if he's not enforcing law now? So that's the biggest thing Republicans are worried about. I love them. I only mock and fool with the ones I love. Blah 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 blah. So which Boehner are we supposed to believe here?
Well, clearly the real Boehner is the Boehner that mocks Republicans for not wanting to do what he wants to do. He clearly wants to pass a bill. He hired an aide who has committed her entire life to passing a bill. He wouldn't have hired her if he didn't want her to actually try to pass the bill. And this thing about it being Obama's fault, I mean, you can't trust Obama, but it's a bad bill even if you could trust Obama. The main problem with the main obstacle to the bill is it's a terrible bill and Republicans rightly don't want to pass it. It's not that they don't trust Obama, it's that it's a bad policy and they have a policy disagreement. So the whole thing about blaming Obama is an obvious sort of phony distraction from the problems with the bill itself.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I don't understand what it is that the Republicans don't understand, or Boehner, the leadership, doesn't understand. I mean, I know he's under pressure, and they're under pressure from the people who contribute in the Chamber of Commerce and all that kind of thing. But if they go ahead and do something like this, before the midterms. I got a feeling, I mean, they're going to alienate a whole lot of people who, instead of coming out for the midterms, their motivation will go bye-bye, and they will just, decide to stay home.
Well, if you buy the view that all the lobbyists care about is immigration, which I don't think is true, but follow along with it, they don't want to win big. In other words, Boehner is a little scared if he has a huge Republican majority composed with a lot of Tea Partiers. They're going to be hard to control. They might not even elect him Speaker. Likewise, if all you care about is passing amnesty, if you get a Republican Senate, you're probably not going to get an amnesty. So the real pro-amnesty people don't want the Republicans to win the Senate, and they don't want too big a majority in the House.
And you put Boehner in that camp?
I don't know. Nobody knows what Boehner is thinking. Nobody knows if Boehner even is planning to retire or is planning to run again. The conventional wisdom is he wants to, if the Republicans win the Senate, he wants to see what he can actually accomplish. So that would not put him in that camp. That would say he doesn't want to screw up Republican chances. And I would think Mitch McConnell would have a word in here. He obviously wants to be leader of the Senate, so he wouldn't want Boehner to screw things up by having a big divisive fight right before the election. So it's all very complicated, and Boehner is just a mystery. Nobody, in terms of his plans for himself, nobody knows if he thinks he can win or if he's going to quit or what.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. Let's talk about Jeb Bush for a second, the man who we heard a little bit from anyway at the beginning of the lead into your segment, and his statement. You know, we had Ron Christie, who was a advisor to George W. Bush for many years, who knows the Bush family very well, who said that at the time that he felt Jeb Bush just had torpedoed any chance he had to get the nomination for the Republican Party. And I got to say, I agree with him. I mean, I just don't see how you sell that to a conservative base. I don't see how you could sell, you know, what do we do to people in this country who live here and whose kid needs medicine or his kid is starving? I mean, let's say even with the safety net, they don't have the money and the funds for it. If they go and rob a bank or rob a grocery store or shoplift the medicine or the food, they're going to jail. The governor of that state isn't going to say, well, you know, it's an act of love and we forgive it. So I don't know how Bush thinks he could have that kind of mantra and have it accepted.
It's also a recipe for a continual flow of illegals coming out of acts of love, right? Where do you draw the line? The problem is the Bush doesn't draw a line. It doesn't end until half of Mexico has moved here out of an act of love. So you know, it's true. It is an act of love in many cases, but that doesn't have anything to do with the question of whether you enforce the law and whether you can set limits.
Yeah.
The best I can come up with is that Bush is saying he has this sort of haughty elite attitude with, I'll run if you want, but I'm going to. This is what I'm going to say, and he sort of knows that puts the kibosh on his chances.
Yeah.
And he's sort of taking himself out of the running, but with dignity. And he could say, "Well, I held my head up. I endorsed Common Core. I endorsed immigration amnesty, and those Republicans didn't want it." So, and I don't think he's sort of making Marco Rubio look tough on enforcement, which sort of helps his protege Rubio. So there's an argument that maybe he's doing Rubio a favor. Rubio being one of the establishment choices for the Republican nomination.
Who do you think has, I won't say the inside track at this point, although I think there was some kind of poll out today, not only head-to-head versus Hillary, where most of them got really clobbered, but also who's leading the pack. And I think Rand Paul might have been at the top of that list.
Well, they're all bunched up, and it's really early, so it's very I don't think anybody has the inside track. And, you know, I think Rick Perry is showing momentum because, you know, he's actually luring business to Texas, conspicuously Toyota. And he has a powerful argument, and maybe people will forget just why did they not like him so much last time.
Well, he lost me with the mandatory vaccine for the HPV virus, and when he was asked about it the first time, he kind of said, well, it was a mistake. And then the next time he was asked about it at a debate, he's kind of like, I would do it again. And I don't want my governor telling my kid that he's got to get an HPV shot, especially when they're ill effects. But that attitude is what threw me. And then, of course, he went on to make a lot of glaring kind of mistakes and errors. But hey, Mickey, great to talk to you, and thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you again, sir.
Thanks. Hope so.
Take care.
Okay.
Mickey Kaus, ladies and gentlemen, Daily Caller here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just common sense. When you make an excuse for people breaking the law saying they did it out of an act of love, well, then you have to make that same excuse. Whether or not you'll not put them in jail, but you still, I mean, you'd have to say that about every bank robber, every carjacker, every thief, every murderer who does it as an act of passion, who does it as an act of, my kid's starving, I needed the money, my kid can't go to college, we didn't have enough food. I mean, we should have a new classification. in addition to murder 1, murder 2, manslaughter, self-defense, act of love? I don't know. On the Steve Malzberg Show, Gimme 5 is next.